welcome. I am Naveen Agarwal and I help medical companies build safe products through a quality system that's agile, fully compliant with global regulatory requirements, and focused on the needs of patients and stakeholders. I've created this video as a resource for you. But my goal is not to just bring updates and information to you, but also provide deep insights based on years of experience in the industry. So call me or email me with your questions and let me know how I can help you. Big news from the world of ISO standards is that ISO 14971 has now been revised. This is the international standard for risk management of medical devices and one of probably the most important standards for medical devices. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 key changes that you should pay attention to without getting bogged down by details. It's important to take a step back and understand what these changes are so you can look at things from a strategic view. My perspective is that this particular revision aims to simplify and clarify requirements, and that's to help you improve the effectiveness of your risk management process. This point is worth repeating because some of the requirements have been simplified and rearranged in a way that make more sense. So it's important to understand what the intent is before jumping down into the nitty-gritty details of each specific requirement. Here is an overview of these 5 key changes. The first one is that 3 new terms have been added. The second one is more explicit requirements have been added to the risk management plan. But the intent here is to encourage better planning. The third one, and it's very significant, are the changes in the production and post-production section of the standard. The fourth one is simplification of the requirements around residual risk and what information should be disclosed to the patients and doctors. And finally, also more importantly, there is a focus on competence of personnel as against just qualification. We will now go into more detail of each one of these changes to understand what they are about. There are 3 new terms in the new revision: benefits, reasonable foreseeable misuse, and state of the art. Interesting to note that the term benefit was not defined in the prior standard. We know that medical devices are not without risk, and it's the benefit risk evaluation that helps us decide if it's worthwhile to launch a product. So it was interesting to note that the benefit was not clearly defined in the prior version, and that's a pretty significant change. Benefit can be to an individual patient and to their health, or it could be for patient management, or it could improve public health. The second term is reasonably foreseeable misuse, and these are unintended mistakes that can happen because of human behavior, but they are unintentional. The third term is state of the art, and this is best illustrated by an example. ISO 14971 is actually state of the art for risk management. State of the art is anything that's recognized by experts in a field as the state of knowledge or technical information. It doesn't have to be the most advanced technology. Why are these definitions important? Well, if you guessed that there are new requirements based on these definitions, then you are right. Let's talk about benefit first. How can we do benefit risk evaluations if we have not defined these benefits clearly? And benefits are defined in the context of intended use and the operating environment in which the medical devices will be used. So it's important to define these benefits upfront very clearly. The second term is reasonably foreseeable misuse. There is now an explicit requirement to make a list of every foreseeable misuse that can happen in the field. That will be part of the risk management process and is usually done through a use error risk assessment. The third one is state of the art. It needs to be now defined explicitly and recognized explicitly in your risk management system and should form the basis of the risk acceptability policy. One way to show if you have reduced the risk to as far as possible is to implement controls which are recognized by state of the art. The second key change is about some additional requirements in the risk management plan. Now we know that risk management plan has always been a very important part of the risk management process, and requirements have been spelled out. But now there are some additional requirements. The first one being a method to evaluate the overall residual risk. It cannot be done arbitrarily anymore. We have to upfront define what will be our method to evaluate residual risk. Clause 9 now has an explicit requirement to review execution of the risk management plan compared to the review of the risk management process in the prior version. As a result, there's a lot more accountability for the risk management plan and its execution before the commercial launch. The idea is to make sure whatever we plan is executed properly, and if there are any deviations, they are recognized and explained. As I mentioned before, there are significant changes and additional requirements to the production and post-production clause of the standard. There are a lot more shall requirements compared to should, nice to have guidance. A lot more new information needs to be collected, especially when it pertains to the safety. And in addition, the output of this step is expected to be used as an input in the management review process to review and assess the effectiveness of the risk management process. This is a significant change compared to the prior version, and it's very consistent with what's happening across the world. Global regulatory agencies are getting more and more interested in how you do post-market surveillance and how you analyze and report adverse events and injuries. Case in point is the EU MDR, which talks a lot about post-market surveillance requirements. And FDA also has come under a lot of fire because of recent very highly popular issues around medical device safety. So it will be a good idea to take a very close look at these new requirements and design your post-market safety surveillance process to make sure not only you fulfill these requirements, but your risk management process is more effective from a post-market surveillance point of view. There is now a little bit of a simplification in how you evaluate residual risk. Previously, you were required to do both individual residual risks and an overall residual risk. Residual risk is just leftover risk after you have implemented your risk mitigating controls. And there was a lot of confusion about how to evaluate individual residual risk and overall residual risk. Guess what? In order to simplify this, now the new standard has only one requirement, and that's about overall residual risk. This should facilitate a good discussion of the benefit and risk for the medical device and decision around what information to disclose in a way that facilitates an informed decision by the patient and the doctor. So I consider this to be a simplification, and it should allow you to focus on determining the residual risk based on the method that you identified for the risk management plan and come up with a very clear message around the overall benefit risk assessment. The final change that in a way applies across the risk management process is related to competence of people, not simply qualifications. What is required is to assess and demonstrate competence. Competence is based on education, training, skills, and experience. And basically it means the ability to do the job right, not just know about it. It's not just enough to look at the training records, for example. Everybody who does work in the risk management area is expected to be competent based on the requirements of their specific role in the process. One practical implication of this change is that human error or lack of training is no longer going to be acceptable as a reason for quality problems. We have to maintain and encourage competence for the role that a particular person performs in the entire process. This is very consistent with ISO 13485 that also went through a revision and is the new way competence needs to be evaluated for quality management system. In conclusion, the updated ISO 14971 reflects the best, most advanced thinking on risk management after a decade-long period from the prior revision. There are a lot of changes, but these are the 5 changes that you should think about from a strategic point of view. But new terms and definitions, new requirements in the risk management plan, changes in the post-production and production requirements, residual risk requirements, and competence of people. Risk management is a challenging process for medical industry, and in our view, these 5 changes aim to simplify requirements and help you improve the effectiveness of your risk management process. This will help you to continue building and launching products which are safe for patients. Thank you again for your interest and attention. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel so you are always in the know. Visit my website www.exceedqm.com to learn more about the innovative quality solutions that we can offer for your quality management system. We focus on risk management, regulatory compliance, customer experience, and quality culture. I also publish a monthly newsletter that gives you latest information from the industry with deep insights. Takes only 15 minutes and it's free.